Hello, good morning. How are you? How are you coping with this heat today? My word, it is so hot. I've turned my fan off because it's a bit noisy and you might not be able to hear me properly. So any top tips for keeping cool without fan, then please just pop them in the comments because I think I might be needing them a little bit later. So from a very sunny Rochester in Kent in the southeast of England, I want to give you a very warm welcome to the Virtual Village Hall Facebook page. I'm Rachel from I Printed That, and I don't know about you, but I've really been enjoying the vintage tea party sessions this month. So we've had hand printed napkins, we've had tap dancing, vintage tea party decorations, and even victory roll hair. So after all the celebrating though, sadly, someone's got to do the washing up. And if that task falls to you, then I'm going to try and make it a little bit more enjoyable by showing you how to print tea towels using some really basic equipment. So I have here a decorator's roller with the handle, and this one is foam. So make sure you go for the foam one rather than the fluffy one. Sometimes they're called gloss rollers. I've got the paint tray, my fabric, and of course the tea towel to print onto. I've also got some paper, a pen and pencil, a sewer's or a tailor's tape. If you haven't got one of these, then I'll show you how to use a piece of string and a ruler. And finally, a craft knife. So let's start the session. I'm going to pop you down so you can see exactly what I'm doing. So the first thing to do is to remove your roller from the handle and measure it. So you want to take two measurements. So you want the length. So my one is 9.5 centimetres, and you also want the circumference. So mine is 11 centimetres. So just to remind myself. If you haven't got a tailor's tape measure, then just use a piece of string, just measure it and then hold it up against a ruler, and then you'll be able to get the measurements that way. But that's those two measurements. That's the length, which is my 9.5 centimetres, and my circumference, which is 11 centimetres. So now I need to draw that onto the paper. Nine and a half, 11. If you've just joined us, we're printing tea towels. We're printing onto fabric. This really can be done on any sort of fabric. But for this month's vintage tea party sessions, we're going to make washing up a little bit more enjoyable. So that we know is our area for our roller, and then just cut it out. You don't have to be too accurate, but fairly accurate. I like to remember that this is hand printing. You want it to look hand printed. So here's where we need to draw the design, and I'm going to go with a geometric type print. So here's one that I made earlier. So it's made up of diamonds and triangles, and these work really well as a repeat pattern because you're just doing a continual roll with the roller. The pattern follows on straight after. So I'm going to do a little bit of origami now. You probably weren't expecting that, but this is just to find all my centres. and make sure that my design, although it looks hand printed, I've got a good chance that by the time I've done roll number 10, it still looks hand printed and not just a mess. So I'll just show you again. So I fold it in half, and then I fold in half again. So that's going to give me the center point and also the quarters. I then fold to the middle, the sides, fold to the middle again, and that's going to give me these 8 different sections. And also, so what I'm just going to, in case I need it, which I think I will, I'm going to fold into the middle again, both sides. That's it. So here's my center point, and I'm going to draw my first mark between these 2 points. Second one there, third one there, and then my fourth one there. Then I want this diamond pattern to continue through my design. So I'm just drawing the other halves on, because when I print, that will create the other half. Then I want to have this diamond shape at the top. Sorry, triangle shape, 2 triangles. So I draw them, and then when I print again, that will give me those 2 triangles replicated. And because it's a repeat pattern, I want to make sure I've done the same on the other side. And that's my design ready. So I can now transfer that onto the roller. This is a foam roller, remember. And to do that, place the paper over. Thankfully my measurements were correct. And then just using my biro, I want to make a dot to dot. And I do that just by piercing through the paper and making sure it makes contact with the foam. So just take your time for this. Trying to keep the paper as still as you can so that it doesn't move about. Just going to make a little mark there so I know where it ends. Oh, that one doesn't want to go. Okay. Just line those up. So the paper is starting to sort of fall apart now, but keep going. You can also put text onto the rollers, but just make sure that if you do, then the text goes on in reverse, so that when it's printed, it will be the right way round. So just bear that in mind. Oh, one more steer, missed that one. Okay, right. I'm just going to carefully remove it just to make sure all that those pen marks went through, and it looks like they did. So I don't know if you can see that, but I'm now going to join the dots up. So again, using the biro, just join all those dots. I think it's there. That one didn't come out quite right. So if you're watching today, please say hi in the comments. Let me know where you are. Let me know how you're keeping cool today. What are your top tips? As I said at the beginning, I've had to turn my fan off because of the noise. So if you've got any tips at all that's going to help me keep cool, then they would be gratefully received. That's it. The biro doesn't seem to like the foam too much, so if you've just got a piece of paper next to you, I'm just making sure it's working okay so I can carry on. Okay, have I joined up all the dots? I'll just do a quick check and grab a drink of water. Yeah, that looks good. So now I'm going to start cutting. So to cut, I use a craft knife. And just make sure the safety catches on if you've got one like this. And just remember that when you're cutting, you can always cut away, but it's very difficult to add it on. Unless it's a large piece, you can use super glue. I do have some here just in case. Also, as you're cutting these, sometimes bits do fall off. And again, if you've just got some super glue handy, then you can just quickly glue it back on. So as I cut, I'm going to make sure I'm cutting just by the side of the line. So don't cut on the line or over the line, cut on the side of it, because that's going to give you the greatest surface area to be able to take the paint and then to be able to print. If you start taking bits off, then your print might end up sort of looking a little bit straggly. So just using the knife, just nice and slow. It should cut. If you've got a nice sharp knife, then it should cut very easily. Just cut through the foam, nice and slowly, and then down through to the core. So I have to remember that it's possibly an idea actually just to mark which bits you definitely want to keep. So just do that. That's it. So just really carefully, no rush. Not just because it's so hot. Just do it carefully because you want to make sure you take out the right bits. That's it. So while I'm doing this, I'd love to hear what you've been enjoying from the Virtual Village Hall Facebook page over the last week or so. I know there's salsa classes as well as all the vintage tea, creative writing. So it'd be lovely to share with everyone else what you've been enjoying. And any of the videos, they're all kept online. so you can just scroll down and find the videos. But it would be lovely to know what you've been enjoying too and what you've had a go at. And if you're printing today or sort of in a little while, in the next few days, if you're going to be using this print technique, then please do take photos. We always love seeing your photos here at Virtual Village Hall, so we can see what you've been up to. You can just take a photo and then post it in the comments below. If you've got any questions from today's workshop, I will go through after the session and try and answer everyone's questions. Check that's done all the bits. I wasn't doing that very logically, I think, because I was talking as well. Let's have a look. I think I've taken all the bits off. Yes, that's right. So now you can start taking it's a bit longer. Taking the foam out. And it should just peel out because you've scored it already down to the, or you've cut it already down to the core. These bits should just pull out. And don't throw these bits away because they make really good methods for printing as well. So you can add to your pattern. I'm just going to be really careful on these bits. Don't cut through bits that I've marked. Just cut through there. Feels a little bit like a puzzle, this one. That's it. And then, there's one I missed. Okay, I thought I'd missed one. That's it. There we go. Let's cut that rather than tear it. I might end up tearing right the way through. And that one as well. So if you've just joined us, we're taking a little bit of a break from the celebrating vintage tea parties, and it's time to clear up. So we're making hand printed tea towels just to make that task sort of a little bit more easier. So I've just found out that my core doesn't actually go to the end. So I'm going to take that one off, and then I might add that one on after I've printed. That's it. And that one's come a little bit unstuck. So we just use a bit of glue. To stick that down. And I think I've just got enough actually on the end, so another bit of glue, just a normal super glue. Clearly these were very cheap rollers. Let's glue this one too. Go and make sure they're stuck down nicely. There. So that is your roller ready to print repeat patterns. So I'm just going to clear a space and I will show you how to use it to print. So I start just by putting either a piece of newspaper, newsprint or scrap fabric down so that the ink doesn't go right the way through to the other side of the table. It just so we don't make too much of a mess. And because I've just glued that one, I'm going to use the one that I made earlier, but it's, as you can see, it's exactly the same shapes, so it'll give me exactly the same patterns. So you can now fix the roller back onto the handle. Put some fabric paint into your tray. And then just very slowly. This is actually a really nice one to do on such a hot day because you just need to take your time. You don't want to rush this anyway. So it's a good idea. Just do everything nice and slow, especially on a day like today. It's so hot where you are as well. And I'm just taking off some of that excess paint. Oh, sorry, you can't see that. I'm just taking off some of that excess paint so that when we print, it doesn't splodge. Just add a bit more. So I think that's good. And you might want to do some practice first. So this prints just as well onto paper. So I'm just going to do a practice for you. And again, very slowly. That's it. Because you need a bit of control. It's not painting, we are printing. And just not too firmly. I don't know why some keep getting stuck now. Not too firmly, but just make sure you're squeezing that paint out. So that's our first roll. So now I just go back in and take some more paint. Make sure you check on the manufacturer's instructions of the paint you're using, because you might need to heat set it afterwards. You'll probably need to leave it for 24 hours to dry, and then normally they say just heat set it with a hot iron just on the back, moving the iron to and fro for about 2 minutes. But the fabric paint that you use, the manufacturer will let you know what you need to do. And then I want to do my second print next to it. Now I'm going to kind of mix this up a bit, and rather than have my diamonds going all the way across, I'm going to do a half print. So I'm going to start at the top again, and I'm going to come down. Oh, that's good. My roller's moving a little bit easier now. And I'm just making that second print to continue that pattern. And I'm going to do one more just as practice, and then I'll go back doing it onto the fabric. So I've already started on the fabric. I've made a pink print and a yellow print, and I'm just going to add the black as well, just to set those two colours off. So again, I'm lining up, making sure that my diamonds here will match these diamonds, and will just be a half print down from the diamonds there. So I need to start with that, just move that to the side. Let's see how this one goes. Swirl that back slightly. There, and there we have it. So we've got this nice zigzag in the middle, the diamonds running at a half print, and these will almost look like bows, again running at a half print. So yeah, I'm really happy with that geometric pattern. So now we just need to transfer it finally onto the fabric. So another piece of paper. down onto the table. This is the fabric I've already been printing, and this works, as I say, on tea towels or any sort of fabric, really, as long as it goes with the manufacturers of the paint, fabric paint instructions. So, for example, normally they'll say cotton or linen or silk. Just keep it a natural fabric, and also make sure if you're printing with either opaque or translucent colours. If you're printing with opaque colours, then you can print onto dark fabric. But if they're translucent, like I'm using today, then I go for a light plain fabric. So just inking up again. I know you've seen this, but it's worth just going over it again, especially if you've just joined us. I'm taking some of the excess paint off, so I've got a nice even coating of paint on my roller. And then line it up. Okay, no going back. And when you print onto the fabric, you might notice that it's slightly different. It does feel slightly different, and the fabric will absorb the paint quicker than the paper. So again, you might just want to try it on a sort of a test piece of fabric. And as I'm doing it, I'm just pushing down very slightly, making sure that the paint is coming out. So you can just roll over again if you need to. So I think just one more time. Just roll that paint, line it up. So this time I want my bows to be running along this line. So I start with a half diamond, also known as a triangle. And then just nice and slowly, really controlled. Just come back there a little bit. You might be able to hear a cat in the background. That's my cat, Sydney. He does like to tell me that he's home, so I have to go down and make a big old fuss of him a bit later on. So there we are, a geometric repeat pattern made with a roller onto fabric or onto a tea towel to make washing up all that more enjoyable. So that just needs to go and dry somewhere, and then I will iron it on the back as per the manufacturer's instructions later. So thank you so much for watching today. Thank you for joining me. It's been such a pleasure to show you how to use just some really basic equipment to do repeat pattern prints onto fabric. So next week at the same time, I'm continuing the vintage tea party theme, and I'm going to be showing you potato printing with a difference. So I'm going to be showing you how to make napkin holders using potatoes, but it might not be what you think. So join me then next week, 11 o'clock, for potato printing with a difference napkin holders. So thank you again, and I will see you later. Goodbye.